So now I understand and see why other nurses say, be careful what you say around other nurses. Let's talk about it. So I'm technically only, 2 months into my position, and for the next 4 weeks, I am precepting on a med surg floor. So my first week with my preceptor, she was cool and whatnot. I'm not really a talkative person. Like, I'm very to myself, like, I'm nice, but I also know my boundaries. So the preceptor that I'm with, I had mentioned to her, she's like, so you're going to be in the ED? And I was like, yeah, but they have me like shadowing like on med surg floors for the next 4 weeks. And she's like, oh, that's weird. I'm just like, yeah, but it's okay. Like, I'm not really sure, like, like why, they like want me here. Like, maybe it's just for like, getting like some experience, seeing like, how patients go from the ER to the med surg floor and like the care that they have to offer there. Maybe that's the reason why, but like, I'm not gonna be upset about it or anything like that. I'm just gonna take the experience and take this as like a learning lesson for me before I go to the ED. So this week I'm with a different preceptor. So every floor that I'm with, like, I'm with someone different. So today I'm like, with my preceptor, and my educator calls me. She's like, hey, like, do you mind coming to meet with me and your ER manager? And I was just like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll be down in a minute. Now, for me, I thought this was so weird because I'm just like, why is she choosing to meet with me? Just because I was like, what? I wasn't really expecting to meet with her until like my 4 weeks was over of shadowing on like the med surg floors. And then it's time for me to go to the ED type of thing. But I was like, all right, cool, no problem. I'm going to just go down there and see like what was up. So I get into the office and they're like, so like, how's everything been going? Like, how was your first week? And I was like, I was honest. I was like, well, my first week, I felt like I really didn't do too much. I kind of felt like I was like a nursing student all over again, like just observing, watching, like what my preceptor was kind of doing. Like, I wasn't really like interactive with patients that much or really even doing anything. But I was like, this week is a little different. So the preceptor that I'm with today, like, he, like, coming in, he was like, okay, let's have a goal for today's shift. I'm going to like let you do the meds, pull from the Pyxis, start lines, like do all of that. So I was like, oh, okay, like I felt good about this week because I felt like my first week, it was kind of just like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to be bored out my mind if I literally have to do this for 4 weeks. But then coming into this week and being with this preceptor, I was like, okay, like, you know what you're doing. Like, you're obviously a preceptor that I want to follow and that I want to shadow for the remainder of this week because I felt like I'm actually learning the basics. I'm being hands-on, and I like to be hands-on. Like, that's the way that I learn best. So then my educator hits me with, oh, okay, like, that's nice. So your preceptor from the previous week said that you said something kind of like in the context of like, oh, you don't know why you're here, or you don't know what you're doing here. And when she said that, I looked at her like, what? Like, okay, like I didn't look too crazy, but I was like a little like blown back. Now, the only reason why I was a little like blown back by this was because I didn't really say it in that type of context. I was kind of just saying like, like I really don't like know what the expectation is, but I'm definitely going to, try to learn the most of it. But I felt like what I said to this other nurse was taken out of context, and she went back and told my educator this, and I felt like it put like a bad like taste or like a sour like maybe like aspect about like me going to these other floors and like what I may be saying out like on these floors. Like, it's not anything bad, but I also feel like you took what I said to you like out of context and you went back and told them this, so now it looks bad on like me as a person. And I feel like I've seen videos of other nurses talking about be careful like what you say around other nurses, just because, other nurses might feel some type of way that, maybe you're in a department that they want to be in, or, you're making more money because either like you're a traveler or something like that. And I kind of did feel like, I'm like a new nurse. I didn't think like this would automatically happen like straight off the bat. Like, I'm literally only 2 months into working my job. Like, I would figure like, okay, maybe this is something I might deal with like later on down the road type of thing. But 2 months into my job, like, this is how y'all nurses are coming? Like, what the heck? But one thing I will say, like, I'm glad that this did happen to me like very like early on into my career, just because I felt like this was like, all right, this is a learning lesson. And I see that obviously this is very much happening out here in the nursing world. So I'm going to tread cautiously, like moving forward. So I would say I cannot express this more than enough. All my new nurses, if you are a new grad nurse, when these OG nurses are telling you be careful what you say to other nurses when you're on the floor, be careful what you say, because a lot of the things that you may say can be taken out of context, get back to the wrong people, and now higher ups may have a different perspective of you than what you presented like yourself like in the interview. And that's not the type of energy that you're trying to give, especially as like a newbie like on the floor type of thing. Like, I'm not a mean girl, not at all.